Unmuted. Hello. Good morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you live and what time zone you're in. We are on our February episode our second February episode, because we've had a February episode before, of TRPG, the talk show. I'm Nikki. I use she, her pronouns, and I am co-admin over here, or co-creator here at TRPG.
Hello, everyone. My name is Reese. I am co-creator of TRPG. What are we drinking today, Nikki?
Okay, so I did not feel like drinking tea today because I've already had a lot of tea. And so I'm having hot cocoa that my fiance made for me because for some reason she just always makes it better than I do, and it's gross when I make it.
Well, I think today is actually a perfect day for hot cocoa. It's a very rainy day here in Seattle, so anything to make you all cozied up. I'm actually on my fourth cup of English breakfast. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, but we'll see what happens.
Because again, it's a gray day in Seattle, and what else do you do other than consume hot caffeine?
Yeah, I'm under a heated blanket. I have my hot cup with me all the time. I even have like this little hand warmer thing that I turn on, and I just like hold it when I'm cold. I know the heater's on. Like, it's just one of those days. I can't wait for summer.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, what is happening? That is a different username card. Did you change? She must have changed her name. I got distracted. So, what are you up to? What have you been up to, Reese?
I'm going through a midlife crisis. I got in trouble last week. I just went on a break at work and then never came back. So I'm currently looking for a job, but I'm really enjoying all this free time. Just having to commute to work has been really difficult with having car issues, and I needed more sleep. So I've just been sleeping for a week, total hibernation.
Amazing. Work has been fine. I mean, being a teacher during a pandemic is real interesting. I'm interested to see what happens on March 21st, so we will see. Meanwhile, we just wrapped on Avatar Reclamation Season 1. There will be multiple seasons, and I am so excited for people to watch that finale if they didn't catch it live, because it is so good. There were so many tears, and so many happy tears, and so much drama. And if you didn't see, Glyza and Honey got to be in our finale, and that was wonderful. So, anyway, let's bring our guests on. How about?
All right. Well, today we have on the show Jess and Gwen, who have just released a Tier 4 D&D adventure, Uncaged Goddesses, part of the Uncaged Anthology, where Jess was the writing director and Gwen was a project lead. So let's bring our guests on the show.
Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
So, always to start off the show, what is in your cup today?
Coffee.
I've decided it's too late in the day for coffee or tea, so chocolate milk. The two most important
your
parts.
Mug, Gwen.
Hey,
see that beautiful mug.
It's 3 Flames merch. I was like, I'm just gonna put 2 of the most important ingredients in my coffee drink and leave out the third one. So,
well, I thought you were gonna have hot chocolate, but chocolate milk, I haven't drank that in a while.
Yeah, I was gonna have hot chocolate, and then I couldn't be bothered to microwave it. So here we are.
And then Jess, how did you make your coffee?
In a French press.
Nice.
With coconut almond milk afterwards.
Fancy.
So let's just get started and tell us about this release and kind of what the Uncaged Anthology is.
Yeah.
Gwen.
I'll jump on in as project lead. So the Uncaged Anthology is a collection of one-shot adventures focusing on feminist reimaginings of classic monster lore, and it pulls from a lot of folklore retellings, as well as just fun things that you might not know about the monsters from the monster manual, but are written down in there and made some of our authors quirk an eyebrow. we have 4 volumes that are all like monsters from the monster manual and pull from a lot of different cultures in addition to just kind of like the core creatures actually in the monster manual. So you'll find like, vampires, but they are not classic vampires. They're like the Mongol vampire from the Philippines, that kind of thing. So Goddesses is our collection of tier 4 adventures. So levels 17 through 20, focusing on retellings of classic D&D lore around their neutral and evil goddesses. We collectively have decided that the lore could treat them better. And if Wizards of the Coast isn't going to do it, we are. Right. So yeah, it's 21 adventures, all featuring different neutral and evil goddesses from the Forgotten Realms, along with the Fury from Eberron and Mother Night from Barovia, Ravenloft, and a third one,
Farrakha, Theros.
Farrakha from Theros. Thank you. Yeah. So it was.
You said Eberron, right? Yeah, you
yes.
did.
And it was a very large undertaking from over 70 people to get this book done. I'm so excited that it's like in the world. Feels wild. It's doing great so far, but definitely check it out if you haven't. I'm excited to talk about the book and also about tier 4, because I think that's probably the weirdest part of this book is that it's all tier 4 adventures, and that's not something that a whole lot of content exists for, which is a right shame, because if you've played tier 4, it's great.
Yeah.
Well, could you explain to us kind of what tier 4 is and what makes it different?
Yeah. So it's really just like the top levels of D&D. It's just that basically I don't think any single official campaign gets up to tier 4.
No, they just go to tier 3, I think.
Yeah.
It's levels
so like
17 through 20. So what makes tier 4 is that you have access to the wish spell. Yeah. You have access to 9th level spells. Okay. And PCs are basically on the same level as gods at that point anyway.
I would say they're not quite on the same level as gods, but they're definitely like persons of interest globally. So a piece of writing advice that I kept giving the writers as we were starting the process, because tier 4, part of the appeal is just that like you can have such a big impact on the world because your players are so influential that like the scope of the adventures should be different. If you have a cat stuck up a tree, you're not going to call Simone Biles to climb the tree to get your cat. She's busy.
You don't know, Gwen.
If I had her contact information, I would, but like regular mortals can't contact her. Like she's beyond that. And that's the PCs in this situation. Like you are the Simone Bileses of the world, and the scope of things that you are responsible for taking care of and that people might ask you to take care of are wildly different. And it's so much fun to get to play in that sandbox and be like, my sphere of influence isn't a town, isn't a county, it is a country, it is a world. And to kind of play around with those challenges, and also honestly get to play around with the mechanics in high level D&D, because you like never get to use your level capstones. You see the cool things you get as a wizard or whatever, and you're just like, man, I'm never going to be able to cast Wish, huh? But you can if you play tier 4, and you can play tier 4 by buying our book.
Yeah, the player's handbook kind of describes them as like with tier 1, your players are saving a farmstead or saving a village. That's levels 1 through 4. With levels 5 through 10, tier 2, your characters are saving a city or maybe saving a kingdom. With tier 3, they're saving a region or saving a continent. And with tier 4, they're saving the multiverse.
Yeah.
So there's a big jump there.
Yeah. Which also means that like the scope of where your adventures takes place can be a lot higher. Where your adventures takes place. So
there's a lot of plane hopping adventures in here.
Yeah. The book has a ton of cool places you go to that are not the material plane. So Jess wrote a really good adventure that takes you to Primordial Chaos. And every plane has incredibly different rules for like how you interact with it, which gives players like a new and interesting challenge that just you can't handle when you're level 7. You will die immediately. But it's fun to be able to explore that.
Mm-hmm.
So like who's your favorite goddess, or which ones do you identify with?
Oh, hey, Gwen, tell us about Shar.
I am here to tell you the good word about Shar. I have a bias in this book. It's Shar. All right. So How much time are you going to give me for this?
Go for it.
Okay, so Shar is the goddess of night, loss, secrets, that sort of thing. She was created directly by the singular god who's like the creator of everything. She and her twin sister Saloon were created by him, and then they collectively took over and basically made like the universe. They're responsible for like Toriel, and also they are constantly at war with each other. So over the course of them like being at war,
Or
as
are
side
they?
products, oh yeah, or are they? Read our book. But like as side products of their fighting, not even intentionally, they created the gods of like murder, of magic, of like so many other things that they didn't even intentionally make. They are so powerful and important and like beyond kind of the ability for mortals to like understand. And Shar is so disrespected. I cannot stand the Forgotten Realms wiki. If you go to it, if we hadn't successfully taken it over by the time you watch this episode, the Forgotten Realms wiki has the official art of Shar. She looks like she's a goddamn, can I swear on this show? She looks like she's a heckin' level 12 rogue from Ragnarok Online, a cultural touchstone that only I have. But like, where is the respect? So anyway, you ever get so mad about something, you make a whole book about it? Because I do.
Yeah.
That's Shar. She's my favorite, but also,
passion comes in.
yeah, the other 20 goddesses are great too.
I posted that little like tag yourself meme that you all posted on Twitter in the TTRPG Discord community, and everyone really had a fun time with that. I am absolutely Luthic, like so much. The mama bear part is absolutely who I am as a person.
I wrote Luthic's adventure.
But I was just like, why does Shar remind me of Christina? Like D20X Tina.
Yes.
Christina was like, how do you know me so well? Emo kid for life.
I wish I were Shar. I made all the art and like kind of tag yourself notes and stuff. I'm definitely just like the Queen of Air and Darkness is a personal attack on me by me. I answer your texts once like quarterly.
Yeah, that was a fun meme for sure.
Jess, who's your favorite goddess?
Yeah.
Oh, it depends on the day. Luthic has a special place in my heart because I wrote her adventure and I love her and I want her to get all her flowers. But I still remember this whole book kind of started when Ashley was like, hey, did you know that Umberlee is referred to canonically as the sea bitch? And ever since then, I've just been like, Umberlee is in my heart and I love her. And I think she's just the best. And there are a lot of goddesses that are the something bitch. Like Lulth is the
spider bitch.
The spider bitch.
Both the spider bitch and the bitch queen, I think.
Yeah, or Umberlee's the bitch queen of the sea.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of goddesses that are the someone bitch. And
not even just like it's not even limited to the evil goddesses because our book has the neutral goddesses and the evil goddesses. And like Mistra, the like neutral goddess of magic, is described as like the whore or something. And like, excuse you,
the whore of magic,
right? Like, so
on your meme thing, I was very Mistra meets Red Knight. Those were my two.
Oh yeah. Wolf was the other one that was very relatable. I don't have legs for days, but I love creepy crawlies, and I am tired of being nice, and I'm ready to go ape shit.
Yes.
Yeah. The Lolth adventure is actually a really fun one. For like thinking of tired of being nice, ready to go ape shit. The Lolth adventure takes you back. Spoilers, I guess, for the Lolth adventure. But the book's out, so it's fine. It takes you back to when she is Arashni, like before she falls. And you get to explore that as players. Like you get to time travel back and go to the Elven Pantheon's court and interact with it. Like that's cool. Going back to tier 4. Like that's the level of involvement you can have in like major formative parts of D&D lore, which is really cool. And also very much
just fun.
Yeah. But definitely in the realm of tired of being nice, ready to go apeshit. That is Arashni for sure.
So, how did you get into this project and how long have you been working on it?
Oh man, this book specifically or Uncaged in general?
Both?
I'll go first.
Do it.
So I got involved in the Uncaged Anthology holistically when Ashley Warren put out a call for writers for a anthology idea she had the 4 years ago, 2018. Yeah, Jess is making some faces. Yep, it's been 4 years, baby. So I responded to her call.
Years.
Yeah, right. I responded to her call and was like, I don't write. Do you want art for your book? I could do art for your book. And she just replied like, yeah, that sounds great. And then her call completely blew up. And instead of having enough contributors for 1 volume, she got enough contributors for 4 all at once. That included me and some other amazing artists, including David, my co-project lead, who has also been involved with it since the beginning. But yeah, that's how I got involved. Is I just like shot my shot for something that did not request that I be involved, but Ashley didn't stop me.
Nice.
So I've been involved with the project since the beginning, making art. I have art in every single Uncaged volume, which holds true for this one. And as far as Goddesses is concerned, Jess and I actually do like a Friday night stream where we're playing through all of the Uncaged adventures. And during one of our behind the scenes things, we kind of remembered like, oh yeah, weren't we going to make a 5th book that was all about goddesses? Ashley had mentioned that. Somebody should follow up on that. So I messaged Ashley and was like, hey, is anyone making this book? Can I make this book? And she went, sure, you can make that book. I'll help if you want. And I went, great. And that was back in June 2021. And so we've been working on that book since June 2021. It was a whirlwind 6 months of like proper book production, and then another couple months to like actually get, the printing resolved and get like all of the stuff ready for release. And now it's out and it's so weird.
The cover is so beautiful.
Yes.
I gasped. Like I fully went, ooh, when I first saw it. Like it's so good.
I spent so long on all of that gold filigree.
Well, could you tell us about what the creative process was for those illustrations? Like, where did you get the inspiration to create these characters?
Sure. Did we want to mention where Jess or how Jess got involved in?
Yes.
Okay, first. Sorry.
So you don't have to. You can skip me. It's fine. Yeah, I got involved in Uncaged apparently 4 years ago. Jesus.
Yeah.
I was hanging out in my friendly local game store, and one of my friends, actually Panda Theist on Twitter, came up to me and held out her phone, and it was Ashley's call for writers, and was like, hey, somebody's publishing a book that's like about mythology and D&D, and I know you don't really play D&D that much, but you're like the best GM that I've had, and you know more about mythology than anybody I know, and it's feminist, and that's very you, so you should do this. And I was like, I've never written an adventure, and she was like, just do it. So I submitted 2 pitches to Ashley, and she took them both, which is how I ended up in volumes 1 and 4.
Wow.
And I really overshot my shot because I instead of pitching, I initially wrote like almost an entire adventure before I realized, oh my gosh, she just wants a pitch. She doesn't want a whole adventure.
Once you get started, you can't stop, right?
So I scaled it back and set the pitch, which I think my first one was like Pokemon by way of Melusine. And the other one was like La Llorona is mad. And she was like, those are good. So I did that. And then, Gwen pretty much explained how Goddesses came about, but it started with that Ashley talking about the sea bitch, Gwen coming back to it. And then Gwen came to me and was like, so David and I are producing Goddesses. And I was like, damn, that's going to be a lot of work. And she was like, would you like to be involved in it in any way? And I was like, I would love to. And Gwen was like, I know you have no time. And I was like, I don't. And she was like, so you could be as involved as you want to be. And we somehow worked out that I would be writing director, which I didn't think I had time for, but I ended up doing. And with the rest of the admin team, it was great. And then I decided to pitch for it too. And I didn't get like special privileges or anything. I went through the same, like we had an anonymous pitch submission process. So we had readers from like diverse backgrounds, people who had been in previous volumes of Uncaged and people who hadn't, reading anonymous pitches. And we had over 200 of them. And we had like 8 readers going through these. So I submitted 2, one for Luthic and one for Umberlee. And my Luthic pitch got picked, which was nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I was not allowed to read Luthic and Umberlee pitches, obviously.
Yeah. It was funny. I remember reading the Luthic pitches and just being like, man, one of these really gets what Uncaged is about. This is like clearly the front runner. This is the best one. And then we got to the unblinding of all the pitches. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
I had DM'd 85 Uncaged adventures at that point.
Speaking of that, like, what book are you playing through now? Because didn't you just wrap on one of the books?
We're playing through Goddesses now.
Yeah, we're on episode 3 of Goddesses is coming out this coming week.
Our 92nd adventure.
Yeah, or I guess it's episode 2, part 1, because when you get to tier 4, they do start getting a little longer.
Yeah.
No, part 2. I can do math. It's fine.
Episode 2, part 2 will be this Friday.
Yeah.
And it's all about Shar.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Which is why I've got the spiel ready.
She rolled 27 on her religion check on Friday. So Gwen got to tell us in character about the good news of Shar.
I don't know how in character it was. I think it was just my zealotry coming through.
Talk about your filigree though, Gwen.
Thanks. Yeah. So I guess I did a bunch of art for the book. Something that we wanted to do. I guess I'll talk about the cover first. The cover, I just really, really had a hankering for gold filigree. I have always been the kind of artist who's like, I want to do the most details. So that's just kind of what I default to. Filigree's great for that. Mm-hmm. Also, the other volume art was done by a different artist, but all of the volume covers were very inspired by like fashion photography. So that's something I wanted to make sure to carry forward into this book is kind of the stark background, the like kind of more high fashion designs, as well as like posing that you don't necessarily see that much in a whole lot of other tabletop RPG covers. Right. Like they tend to be very classic fantasy, like we're fighting a dragon, which is great. Also, props to artists who can draw dragons. Couldn't be me. But yeah, I really liked being able to kind of do something different with the cover because like for a cover illustration, you do want something that is very visually striking and very readable immediately. So those illustrations with like the whole party fighting the big bad or whatever are really hard to make work on a cover. You need such good control over like your values and your composition and stuff for them to actually work. So the ones that work are amazing. I had a little bit of an easier time because pulling from fashion photography inspiration, people who make magazine covers have got it down to a science for how best to go about doing that. So it was really easy to just kind of spend some time thinking about how I would want to represent a goddess, but make her fashion. And Joaquin was the obvious choice for the cover. I did a poll testing interest. I like to think this was significantly before we actually started the book, but because I was so excited about the book, I think it was maybe 3 days. But I made a poll on Twitter that was just like, which of these goddesses have you heard of? And it was like a list of all the Forgotten Realms deities.
I think that was when we were deciding like which goddesses do we absolutely need to have in the book because we weren't sure how many we were going to have.
I remember this poll.
Yeah. So that was mid-June. And then we put out the call for pitches June 21st-ish. So, moving fast. But the goddesses that people recognized, there was a pretty clear bucket of 3 most prominent goddesses that people recognized. There was the Raven Queen, there was Lolth, and there was Tiamat. And as previously discussed, no way in hell am I drawing a dragon for the cover, let alone 5 dragons that connect at the neck. Thank you. So she was
little chibi Tiamat was so cute though.
Thanks. I pulled on my memory of drawing cartoon dogs when I was 12. My skill has not improved since then with regard to animals, but with chibis, it doesn't matter as much. But yeah, so Tiamat out. The Raven Queen canonically does not have a form. So she was out. We figured it out for the book. There's gorgeous art of her by Utrio that is amazing. But for the sake of the cover, it wasn't really going to work. Lolth, we worried that she wouldn't translate well on the cover because Lolth is somebody who is very iconic once you can see her from the waist down. From the waist up, she just looks like a drow lady, and there's not that much iconography you can pull with her that doesn't just make it look like a drow book. And we wanted to make it clear that like the book wasn't just drow. There are drow in the book. There's some really cool imaginings of both Lolth and Caronselee. who are two drow goddesses, and have very good adventures. But we didn't want to make the cover misrepresent like the amount of drow content we were going to have. Mm-hmm. Then after those three, the next two that were easily recognizable were Joaquin, who's on the cover, and Umberly, who's very she was kind of sorry,
because an Oriel, right? Because Frost Maiden had just come out.
Oriel didn't make that top 5. She was actually down in the next bucket. Yeah. But there was like Oriel wouldn't have been a good choice for the cover anyway, because Rime of the Frost Maiden was like decently new. So we didn't want to make it seem like a Frost Maiden specific thing that we were doing. Umberly, love her. I appreciate her being the catalyst for Ashley's idea for Uncaged Goddesses. Turns out drawing a lady made of water doesn't work super great in terms of readability for a cover. So she was out, and we were left with Joaquin, who is honestly a really amazing choice for this, because just her whole thing is that she is the goddess of like commerce and kind of money changing hands, essentially. Mm-hmm. So she's worshipped by both merchants and also thieves, because as long as money is changing hands, she's cool with it, which I love. But she has like such a striking set of things that she is like associated with, a lot of them being, ornate gold coins, filigree, that sort of thing. So she was a really good candidate for turning into like a goddess but make it fashion kind of cover. That's my spiel about the cover.
I love gold.
Separately, I do have a bunch of interior art in the book for the different dividers. So we had the goddesses divided up in the book by domain, because in the other books, the adventures are divided up by tier. Can't do that if it's all tier 4. So instead, just to kind of separate it out and make it easier to find everyone, we separated them out by kind of the major domain that they're associated with. Understandably, a decent amount of evil goddesses.
By level at tier 4, it gets kind of meaningless. Like, there's a difference between 17 and 18. 18's when you get a lot of your like capstone abilities, but by that point, like it's a little, there's not much of a point.
Yeah. So a lot of the adventures in here are like level 17 to 20, because honestly, doesn't make that much of a difference at tier 4. It's a lot more about like player creativity, and a good, like interesting and engaged set of writing and DMing. But the dividers, David and I decided we wanted the like art direction within the book to have all the dividers have kind of a coherent style. Mm-hmm. So we took a lot of inspiration from like classic Art Nouveau paintings for them, which was a lot of fun. I hate doing line art, so I don't know why I did that to myself, but I made 3 of them, and in my opinion, they turned out fine. I like them. And then I did the back cover in a like fugue state in about 3 hours. I just channeled my
cover, Gwen.
Huh?
Who's on the back cover?
I'm so glad you asked. It's Shar. I had to put her on the cover somehow.
Can
nobody recognized her enough. Yeah,
does Jess?
I don't actually know if it's on. Oh yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I just that was like in one sitting, I knocked out the back cover because I was just channeling my inner Shar stan. And out she came, and she's perfect, and I love her. But yeah, that's the art I did for the book. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I'm glad I was able to ask, because you have plenty to say about it. I'm
plenty to say about a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm going to turn it over to Nikki and have Nikki ask some questions too.
All right. I am sorry. I'm still like thinking about the art, because it's so pretty. So Jess, you were on our show, our first episode ever.
I sure was.
Yeah. Other than Uncaged Goddesses, what else is new for you in the last year or so?
I've had a couple pieces in Arcadia, which was really exciting. I love writing for James Introcaso. He's just a friggin' joy to work with, and somehow tolerates all of my nonsense. And my most recent, the most recent one I was in, I actually just sensitivity read for. But the last month's Arcadia, the January one, was actually inspired by Uncaged and running 800 million Threeflings adventures through Uncaged, because so many of the Uncaged Adventures were like, hey, we've found a monster, but she was cursed into this form, or we found a monster and she's not sure she wants to be a monster. Let's help her. And so I was like, hey, James, what if I wrote a thing to uncurse all of these female monsters who are cursed this way because of sexism? And he was like, that's great, do that. So I got to write a whole bunch about like uncursed adventures you can go on, and then some roll tables for like quick and dirty ways to come up with a curse cure if your players do something really stupid. Like, you can tell them so many times the like, don't touch this thing, and they'll be like, she really keeps emphasizing we shouldn't touch that, so clearly we're supposed to touch it.
And yeah, I think when you GM for people like that, you have to like be like, oh yeah, sure, touch it, it's a great idea.
Do you examine it with your eyes or with your hands?
Yeah.
It's my big one.
Every time you ask me that, my heart rate goes up by 10%. From the other side of the room with my eyes only.
With mage hand.
Yeah, so that's fun. And then Queer Finder, I wrote for Grady and Theo, actually 2 of our Uncaged Goddesses writers, put out a magazine that's going to be several issues that are for Pathfinder. And it's basically like for queer people by queer people in the world of Pathfinder Infinite. And Grady said that I could write a magazine article. He actually asked me to write about harpies specifically, and I was like, I can do that. He was like, write about what harpies do for like holiday celebrations. And so at first I was like, oh, let's do like the Feast of 7 Fishes, but it's like the Feast of 7 man meats, and we can do recipes for like preparing orcs and elves. And he was like, maybe not that. So maybe something more lighthearted. So instead I went with like a Mary Lou type thing, and had the harpies like dressing up in human bones and getting drunk and going wassailing. And I still included a thing where like the harpies make little snowmen, but out of like corpses, and they make like corpse men. And yeah, but the fun thing was he let me write it in character. So I got to write it as a Dr. Whiskers, a catfolk professor, and her wife, who is actually a really good elf adventurer and gets shit done. But Dr. Whiskers thinks that she gets shit done and is way too good to engage in any drunken shenanigans. And anything you've heard about her being passed out on the street in a pile of her own vomit is lies and slander.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
Oh, Grady's in chat. Hi, Grady. Yeah, everything else I've been working on is NDA'd, I think. But those are the big ones. Those are my fun ones.
Yeah. Well, I think it looks like everything you do is fun. So I had reached out to you because I've been put on the list of people who get to be on Kill Every Monster. And I had reached out to you because I was like, when I think of feminist monsters, I think of Jess. So
I love that.
You helped me. I like ran an idea by you, and I am like continuing to like put that idea together in my head, and just wanted to like quickly say thank you for that. And so I know like that feminism really impacts the way that Uncaged Goddesses is written and the way that the art is made. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was and Gwen could definitely talk about the art, because she and David did some kick-ass art direction on this, in addition to making some gorgeous art. But I mean, when we reviewed pitches at the beginning of this, one of the criteria that we were looking for was like, how feminist is this pitch? So we made a scale. I think Gwen probably made the scale with input.
I did make many spreadsheets for this project.
I'm sure you can make a rubric for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like, how fun does this seem to play? And how feminist is it? How like uncagedy does it seem? Like, does it actually flip the tropes? And those were the things that we were grading them on, I think. Yeah. And it was important to us to have something more feminist than just like, the bad woman is nice, actually.
Right. I was about to say, like, how do you balance keeping someone evil and making it not a stereotype?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just like, it really comes down to our tagline. Like, it's every villain has her reasons. We're not here to unevel the evil gods in the pantheon. I think, alignment is a whole separate conversation. Mm-hmm. However, I think it's reasonable to say that, like, deities exist outside of kind of the weird caveats people might have about alignment with regard to like player characters, where it's more flexible. Mm-hmm. Deities exist as like kind of concepts, and as manifestations of things. Like, it's more accurate that some of them would just sort of be in their, like, as part of them intrinsically core evil. And we didn't want to take that away from them, because that's not the point. It's not feminist to go, all women are good, actually.
Right.
All women.
It reminds me of this line from the, I think, 1994 Little Women, where Winona Ryder's like, you're talking to guys who were saying that, like, oh yeah, of course women should vote because women, are more moral than men and they're more upstanding. And she's like, women shouldn't vote because we're, perfect. Women should vote because we're human.
Yeah.
And we live in this country.
Yeah. Like the point of feminist reimaginings of all these creatures and deities and stuff is not to make them good. It's to make them like holistic and interesting. We're here to flesh out their histories, their relationships, their motivations, not to change the impact they have on the world, because that's part of what makes them interesting. I would stand Char less. I would stand Char less if she was a good aligned deity, because that's not interesting to her whole deal.
And so much of the lore, like, because I did not know D&D lore at all until running Three Flings. And now, after being writing director for Goddesses, I know a whole lot of evil goddess lore. But so much of their lore is like, they have a war with this other goddess because they were both in love with the same man, or they hate this other goddess because she stole her man, or they hate this goddess because she is prettier than her, and that's why the good and evil goddess fight. And it's like, really, like, that's it? That's I mean, there's a, like, you can see that in Greek mythology sometimes, like with your golden apple, but like, there's more than just that.
Yeah, you need more than that one story.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like, are these stories about D&D's male deities any more compelling, though? Because, like, in my experience, they're not.
I can honestly say I wouldn't know, because I'm now very well versed in specifically the lore around neutral and evil goddesses. And every time someone's just like, oh yeah, Gond, I'm like, who?
I know about Talos because he shows up in here.
Oh yeah, I do know about the deities who show up in the book, because there are more deities than just the like primary 21.
You meet Grumbar and Grumsh in my adventure.
Yeah, and you meet the entire elven pantheon in the wolf one.
We definitely stan Grumsh more than we like Grumbar. So you need a hot earth man.
I played a cleric of Lathander in November, and we basically turned Lathander into fantasy Catholicism, and that was really fun.
It's like a fantasy Jesus, right? Like,
no,
in D&D?
I think Elmater is more fantasy.
That's
who
I was thinking. Yeah.
Lathander is the sun, the light god, like, about like the sun and stuff. He's like, the clerics are called like morning lords or whatever, but there's a picture of him like holding a baby, so you're just like, oh, Lathander holding a baby, I'm of the Church of Lathander holding a baby. And so it's just like turned into this whole joke about Lathander being we turned it into fantasy Catholicism. It was a lot of like money driven, and the nuns were not very nice to my character, and it was really interesting. But yeah, I think other than Ilmater, like the male deities don't have really compelling stories either, and so it would be kind of fun to do a feminist retelling of the male deities, and then turn a few, like, maybe we can have some more non-binary deities in the pantheon.
Like Coralon is like
Coralon's it. Yeah. And I don't think non-binary is actually accurate for Coralon. Like, gender fluid would be correct. Right. So no non-binary deities that I know of. But again, I really only know these 21. That's very clear.
So Gwen, have you gone to cons with your art and stuff like that?
I have, but it's actually been a hot minute.
Yes.
So
yes.
I went to cons with my art more when I did non D&D stuff. I used to be one of the people in artist alleys selling like fan art, basically, which is technically illegal, which is why I don't do it anymore. But yeah, I was in the artist alleys selling prints of like fan art of just kind of things I liked. So Zelda. But I've been getting into D&D art more and more since Uncaged kind of came into my life 4 years ago. Having a great time. Am very excited to get back to conventions once it's safe to do so.
Yeah.
But it is a really good experience just to be able to like kind of meet people and talk about your art and get to share it with people.
What's like the coolest thing that has happened to you in regards to like fan interactions with your art?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. I have made many a temporary friend over the course of an artist alley weekend because there's just like generally a really good sense of camaraderie at artist alleys. Like it is a really cool way to meet other artists and connect with them. It's also a really good way to meet fans of a thing that you like. If you are in an artist alley at like an anime convention selling fan art of something you like, and you see somebody in a cosplay of the thing that you like, suddenly you have like an instant connection with that person and a shared interest like ready to go.
Right.
I always made sure that I had a cosplayer discount. So if you could show me a photo of yourself in cosplay of a character I had drawn, you'd get a discount on the art because that's rad. And also that I have something to talk to you about.
That's so smart. I love that.
Well, and also like cosplay is so much work, like, and so expensive.
Oh my God,
and also I've worked like a couple of conventions before, and it can get boring just sitting there. And so that's a great way to like get someone to chat with you for like at least 20 minutes. If you're an extrovert, it's easy to make friends at cons.
I'm very much an extrovert, but also very shy, which is a fun combination for me because I always want to be talked to, but never want to be the person initiating in case they don't want to talk to me.
I'm an extrovert with social anxiety, so like I will talk to you, but then we'll have a great conversation, and afterwards I will walk away assuming that you hate me. So
oh my God, yeah. I feel you. So it is very nice at an artist alley to have kind of that built-in conversation topic because you do get that like energy refill from chatting with people. It definitely also helps that, you know, I would go to artist alleys with a lot of friends, and like I was in the cosplay circuit for years. So I knew a lot of people just kind of wandering the halls. And so I could be like, Crystal, talk to me, please. Bring me a sandwich. I'm so hungry. Like, please, Subway's around the corner. Feed me. Like that sort of thing. So like, it definitely helps. I think the more you do it, the more people you interact with. Yeah. But
I need to go to a con with you because like I know that you're a shy extrovert and I am an introvert who's worked way too much customer service. So I'll just like go up and talk to strangers, and then for a con I'm like, I need to hide for 800 years now.
Yeah, I just go say hi and then push Gwen in front of you.
Exactly. Just do the like, hi, have you met my friend Gwen? Except it's like purely because I've been talking too much and just needs to go lie down.
That's amazing. My fiance is an outgoing introvert, and then I'm like your natural extrovert who was a bartender and worked in banking before I was a teacher, and I talk to people for a living, so it gets pretty easy.
Zan in chat reminded me, I'm actually assuming that it's still like on. I'm actually going to be re-entering the convention circuit at FlameCon this year, where I'll be selling prints of things, including all my Uncaged Goddesses art.
Heck yeah! Speaking of Zan being in chat, how do you keep a long-term like campaign like Three Flings going? Because that's been going a long time. You said what was it, 92 episodes?
Spreadsheets and bi-weekly meetings.
Spreadsheets, bi-weekly meetings, and also something that's really nice about Three Flings. For those who don't know, Three Flings is our Friday once a week show where we play through an episode for like one of the adventures from the Uncaged Anthology. So something that's really nice about playing through the entire Uncaged Anthology is every adventure is a self-contained one-shot, including in Goddesses. So it's very easy for us to like cycle through people if somebody needs a break, or if somebody's like out for the weekend. I took an episode off because I was like, it's my birthday. And everyone's like, yeah, great. We got other people. Like, go have fun. So I think that helps a lot.
3 of us play at once, but we have a cast of 4, which is nice. And so people can rotate in and out. And we have backup rules for everything. So like, I've DM'd almost every episode, but Zan, who's in chat right now, is backup DM. So like I had a family emergency last weekend, and I knew about it a couple days before Three Things, but I was like, hey, I'm not gonna be there, Zan. And she was like, oh yeah, on it, and just like took over.
Yeah.
And did the same thing when I was at PAX. So it just works out really nicely, and everybody jumps in and does their job and works together.
That's awesome. I also find it's probably easier to schedule with fewer people.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, we made it super hard on ourselves by being like, yeah, we're all on like North America East Coast time, except for the one Australian in the group. So we love you,
waking up early on Saturdays for us.
Yeah, for our like Friday night games. So definitely could be easier to schedule, but it really does help that it's only like three or four people who like need to be available, despite the fact that like our pool is bigger.
And plus, because it is already published one shots, it's easy to know where we're going, and it's easier from a DMing perspective. So like with something like that, like Zan could jump in because she didn't need like, here's my 20 pages of notes. Not like, what a lie. Like I was
going to say, do you take notes? Because I'm pretty sure you don't.
No, I don't.
Publicly attacked.
But it's something like, we're running this adventure, so like, here's what it is, kind of thing.
Yeah, read it for like an hour and you're good.
I take some notes. I write down like 3 sentences.
Here's where we're going. The end.
Exactly.
Because I was like, oh, we need to have a backup GM for your, Dragon Day. Gosh, what game did you play?
Apillion,
thank you. I was like, dragons. It was all dragon games, so my brain just was like, what? And so I was like, hey, if we have like, we need to have a backup, like, what do we do? And you were just like, here's where they're going. That's it. And I was like, well, thank goodness Anita is like an experienced GM and would probably be fine if they had to take over. But it was so funny.
Send me your notes. And I was like, well, they said in session 0 they want to go to the beach, so we're gonna start at the beach and then we'll just see what happens.
That game was wild, but also so stinking cute. It really was like Rugrats meets My Little Pony, but dragons.
Oh my God. I love Apillion. It's so fun.
That was so fun.
You can play Apillion with me as part of Magpie's CPP.
Yeah,
their curated play program.
Recommend you all the freaking time. Like if I bring up, like I brought up Bluebeard's Bride and someone's like, oh my God, I want to play that. And I'm like, I have the perfect person you should play that with. It wasn't until I played with her that I realized I can play horror games if I'm playing with feminists. Like,
that makes me so happy.
And so now I play horror all the time, but I'm very picky about who I play with because I've learned that if I'm the one being creepy, I can handle it. So yeah, playing a creep is my favorite now, and you're part of why I can play a creep. Jess, aren't you proud?
Oh my God.
Jess is proud. That does make
Jess
me
is
proud.
so good at playing creeps.
So can we buy a physical copy of your game? Does that exist?
Like Uncaged Goddesses?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. It is 300 pages long. It is a beast. It is literally bigger than the player's handbook.
Wow.
And it is worth every penny. So the book
it's
actually
sitting on top of my monster manual right now, and it's like almost double the size.
Yeah. So it's huge. And also, part of the reason it's huge is because, tier 4 adventures are dense. There's 21 of them, but also the book on top of that has a bunch of other really nice things that I think are very helpful to people. Not to toot my own horn, but for example, we have a guide written by Jess for like how to run and get into tier 4, because that's kind of the biggest hurdle for people with this book. Yeah. It's just like tier 4 sounds arcane and scary. I've never played tier 4 before. I've heard it's really complicated and hard to do. It's not. It's a lot of fun. It is a full-on sandbox that you're just there to like let your players loose. The writers have come up with cool things for your players to interact with, and like you're just the vessel through which they can have like the ultimate power fantasies. It's great. Additionally, part of the reason it's so dang long is because we have a bunch of pre-generated tier 4 characters, so people can just like jump into the adventures. You don't have to build your own level 19 character. We've done that for you. There's 4 of them printed in the book, and then it got too long, so there's another 4 available as like a PDF on DM's Guild. So 8 total characters for you to pick from.
And you get that PDF free when you buy the book.
And you get that PDF free, like, to be clear. Yeah, it comes with the book. And like it's printer friendly. We laid everything out as like stat blocks, which kind of works a lot better for like how to actually use the character in combat, because the character sheet doesn't leave enough space for things like your abilities. So yeah, we just threw away that entirely. We followed the Wizards of the Coast style, like pre-gens use stat blocks, and we have everything kind of nicely broken out into like, here are your different abilities, here's where they come from, but everything's compiled in the stat block for you. So during a combat or whatever, if you need to go, it's my turn, what actions do I have? Like, we have a list of the actions you can do that are unique to your character, plus the standard like dodge, dash, whatever. So like, it's really designed to be both a collection of adventures for people, but also a way for people to try out Tier 4, because Tier 4 is really fun and good. And I'm mad there's no content about it. So now there's content about it. And hopefully people can like get into it and get a taste of it with this book, with that extra like guide for how to do the thing and characters for people to start playing the thing, so that more Tier 4 content can be made. So I can play more Tier 4 content.
It's amazing.
And how much is the book?
You should see the chat right now, because they're talking about how Nalawu says, just want to say Gwen and David were such good art directors.
Oh, thank you.
And that and Grady said Uncaged was run so well overall, smoothest project experience ever.
Thank you.
That's so nice.
Yeah. We worked really hard on all the admin stuff. I'm glad it paid off, because David and I wanted, like, we cared so much about making like an environment that fostered like creativity and open communication. We spent a lot of time in advance planning out things, you know, spreadsheets, that sort of thing, to like track every part of the project, but also like thinking in advance what we wanted the energy of the group to be and what we were going to do to facilitate that. So like, we made sure the Discord was set up in a certain way to try and like get people to talk to each other about their projects and get people involved in like co-creating things, because it is a better project experience when you can like talk to each other. We built out a timeline that was like ambitious, but had a lot of padding. So anytime somebody was like, I had a life thing come up, we could be like, that's fine. There's like 3 extra weeks to this step. Like, you're good. Which just, you know, generally helps with both time management, but also like letting people feel like they could still contribute to the book without us breathing down their necks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that people have been having a good time. It's always amazing to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Jesse Heineck, who is one of our writers, but is also like one of the original Fallout devs and used to write for White Wolf, and has been like, we were like, he was one of the people along with several of our artists that were like, are you here like for real? Like, why are you here?
There were so many applications David and I were going through where we're just like, are they lost? Like,
but like, Jesse wrote this so kind long Twitter thread about like how writing for Goddesses was so very different than any other project experience he'd had, and like the collaboration was very different. And I was just like crying reading it, and he was like, it ended basically like, if this is the direction that tabletop design is going, that the kids are doing it right. And I was like, Jesse,
that's so nice to hear, especially with all of the like negativity that gets thrown around with D&D. So besides DM's Guild, where else can you buy the buy Uncaged Goddesses? Is there anywhere else?
Just DM's Guild.
Yeah, it is exclusively DM's Guild, because it really heavily uses Wizards of the Coast IP. So unless technically they can do this per the terms and service of DM's Guild, I don't think they will, but unless Wizards of the Coast republishes it themselves, DM's Guild is the only place to acquire it.
Sounds good. So do you have anything else that you would like to plug before we end today?
Three Flings.
Come watch Three Flings every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/angrynerdgirl.
We need to do a T-Flings, but TEA, and have the Three Flings on TTRPG with me and Reese, like as like a tabletop one shot.
Yes.
So I will tell you, Zan, who is in chat, I believe still in chat, has an amazing T-Fling cosplay. She does an Earl Grey T-Fling.
That's amazing.
It's so good.
Yeah, also you can find me on Twitter at Miss_Just03, and you can buy my games at JustMarkhamWrites.com. My most recent game that I made not affiliated with anybody else is called Oops All Draculas, and it's, you know, a lot of nonsense.
Yeah, and you can find me all over the internet, GwenDB, or at Instagram, I'm GwenDB_arts, because GwenDB was taken. I am an illustrator, so I post art, so check that out. I've been posting a lot of art from Uncaged Goddesses. I promise I'll calm down sometime in the next 8 months. Maybe.
Never.
But,
we love enthusiasm in this house.
Yeah, I've also been sharing a lot of other really cool art that people have been posting on Twitter from Uncaged Goddesses, because there are like 30 artists involved in this. There's over 115, or I think there are 115 like custom art pieces in the book, and I'm going to retweet every single one of them. So yeah, find me on Twitter if that doesn't scare you.
Amazing. All right. Well, I'm going to bring to the screen over, so it's just me and Reese real quick, and then we will wrap things up. All right. So, catch what is upcoming? We have 2 more episodes of Lost in Miami, our Vampire the Masquerade game. We have upcoming in March on Wednesdays, we have a masks campaign called Halcyon Pride. So definitely check that out, because that's going to be really fun. And we'll be raising funds for Equality Texas throughout that stream on Wednesdays in March. And then on Saturday, I believe the 19th, it's the 3rd Saturday of March, is our premiere of our other long-term masks campaign, now that Avatar tier is over. So definitely check that out. And then if you love tea, Reese can tell you about our tea promo.
Yes, so please visit Friday Afternoon Tea, where you'll get a 20% discount if you use the code TRPG. And Friday has some amazing teas, but also we have our own blend called TRPG, and you should definitely check it out.
All right, so check that out. Check out our other shows, and we will see you on the last Sunday of the month. So bye, everybody.